I've been here for a couple years now, but I've known Samira since almost the beginning of the ministry, and have been working with refugee families for almost 5 years. So after this event, if you have any additional questions, particularly about language learning, you can email me at alison@gatewayofgrace.org, or call or text, whatever. Happy to work with you guys on that. We have talked about cross-cultural communication already, so I'm going to go through that really quickly, and then we're going to focus on ESL specifically, which, as I mentioned, is a really important, vital part of our ministry. So what is our goal here? We want to help the refugees understand and participate in our society, while also respecting their culture and not putting up barriers that will stop us from having authentic connection and relationship. So both teaching them while not trying to change them or turn them upside down, while respecting their background. That's what cross-cultural communication is all about. And as Samira said, the way you do that is you gotta ask questions. It can be easy to be blind to our own cultural norms and expectations. One example from my teaching, before I was doing this, I taught 6th grade for 6 years. And I had many students from Spanish-speaking countries. And sometimes when I would call students up to my desk, they would not look at me. They wouldn't look me in the eye. And I thought they were being rude, because you need to look me in the eye when I'm talking to you. But actually they were deferring to me, and they were doing what was polite in their culture, and I didn't know, because I didn't have that experience, and I hadn't taken the time to learn more about their culture and why they were interacting with me the way they did. After I learned more about their culture, I was able to interact with the students in a different way and connect with them in new ways. But I wouldn't have been aware if I had only seen it through my own cultural values. So as we learn about their cultures, it brings ours into focus, helps us understand ourselves better. And the simplest way to do that is to just ask the refugees what they notice, because they're going to be very aware of the things that are different, whether it's clothing or eye contact, touch, social norms, etc. Everybody good? I demand interaction, by the way, so nodding and all of that is very helpful. And we've talked about values a lot, but particularly within the context of our school. Americans are very casual. I'm wearing jeans now. When I first started volunteering with the school, I wore jeans every day to teach. And the students thought it was very weird that I was the teacher and I was wearing jeans. And they actually asked me, why? Why do you wear jeans? I'm like, it's our culture, really relaxed. And they even will call all of our teachers at the school teacher, and not by their name, no matter how many times you insist. Please call me my name. They will refer to teacher even not when they're not in my class anymore. Even when I go to their house for dinner, they're still calling me teacher. And I kind of just had to get over it, because they're going to keep doing it. What Samira talked about, direct versus roundabout, is another common one. The start of any phone call with a Persian person specifically is a lengthy procedure. Hello, how are you? How was your husband? How was your baby? How was your family? And I'm just like, I just called to ask you what time, but you have to go through this traditional, polite rigmarole. And as a direct American, sometimes I want to skip it. But I found instead to just answer the questions. My husband's fine. Is your husband good? Good. Okay. Now we can get to the purpose of the conversation. And then time. This was a really big one. Like I said before, we're respecting and we're also instructing. So at our school, we want to start on time. We want to start the break on time, end the break on time, and get them home on time. Because in the United States, if you are 1 minute late, you are late. And that is not usually from their cultural background what is true about being on time. This has to do with parties. I've been invited to refugee homes. The party starts at 5. I think, okay, I'll be home by 7:30. And I'm there until 10 o'clock because at 8:30 they're starting dinner. And I'm like, why did I get here at 5? How long you're expected to stay. There's a lot of traditions. Letting people know, okay, I need to be going soon, but that's like really 30 minutes before you actually need to be going, otherwise you're being rude. And they're all things that just kind of are a little bit give and take, where you want to respect that and try to meet them in it, especially when you're in their turf, in their home. But then when they come to us, we want to say, okay, but this is what you can expect out here in the US. So we're doing both constantly and trying to create an environment of understanding. Is that clear? All right. Some particular aspects that pop up at our school. I want to talk about gift giving. Gift giving is a very big thing. We've had a lot of volunteers come to our school, and we had one 8th grade young lady who commented on an Afghan woman's earrings. She said, "Oh, I love your earrings." And she said, "Okay, you can have them." Yeah. And just gave them to her. And the young lady said, "Oh, okay, thanks." And like took them home. And then we were like, "Oh." So she actually went shopping and bought her earrings, and it worked out. But knowing what is an authentic gift, what is a pretend gift, are kind of things that take time. With conversation topics, we want to be, Samira mentioned not talking about politics, but a lot of different topics can pop up and bring up trauma for refugees. In my first couple weeks, I was asking an Iraqi woman about her family. "Oh, how many brothers and sisters do you have?" That's a really common English language learning question. But one of her brothers had recently been killed by ISIS, so it was not a safe topic, and I didn't know. So we do need to be aware that there are lots of different triggers and lots of different topics, and we just always want to keep in the backs of our minds that it may not be safe. So if somebody doesn't want to talk about something, that's okay. With greetings and physical contact, Samira's talked about that as well. I have seen many Afghan women extend their hand to men, bless you, and that's a okay hand to take, but if they don't extend it to you, I wouldn't take it. I do the same thing with male students. Sometimes they'll extend their hand to me because they know American culture and they know that's what I expect, so they do it, bless you. But they wouldn't do it with women from their country. So when I meet somebody new, I try to look at them and say, okay, do you want me to touch you? Do you not want me to touch you? Some of the women's husbands won't look at me in the eye. Once again, I think they're being respectful. I don't think they're being rude, but just recognizing that even from the same religion or the same country, there's going to be some diversity in there, and you have to expect it and be flexible with it. But in the end, no matter what cultural thing we're talking about, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. One of the Persian families, it's a Persian Christian family I've known now for 5 years. I go to their home at the beginning every week. Now it's like every month or every other week. And one time I went over there, and I was kind of on a mission mentally. I forgot to take my shoes off. And I was there the whole time with my shoes on, and it wasn't until I went to the door to leave that I realized, oh my gosh, I've had my shoes on the whole time. And I looked at them and I was like, I'm so sorry. And they said, it's okay, we're sure your shoes are clean, which is them being really nice, but it's not true. But they were very gracious. And, and then the other day, just Sunday night, I went to an Iraqi home for a birthday party, and I instinctively went to take my shoes off, and everybody in the room said, teacher, no! Because they were all wearing their shoes. And I okay, so I left my shoes on. You never know what to expect, but you just, if you love them, that's what's going to be obvious. That's what's going to be manifest in your relationships. And the mistakes that you made, if you shook their hand or didn't shake their hand or shoes off or on or whatever, is not important, right? So, everybody, all right, let's talk about teaching English. How many of you guys are interested in working with our refugees in the ESL capacity? Not all of you? Okay. If you interact with any refugee at all, these things should still come in handy. So even if you're not going to be volunteering with our school, if you're adopting a family, these tips will come in handy, okay? How many of you guys are bilingual? Rad. What language do you speak, Jeff?
Spanish.
Spanish. Do we have anything that's not Spanish?
A little bit of Arabic.
A little bit? Okay. Sure.
French and Swahili.
French and what?
Swahili.
Swahili. Okay.
Russian.
Russian. Oh, I know what you speak, Samira.
Danish, a little German.
Danish and German. Okay. So, how many of you guys have tried to become bilingual and failed? Okay. Me too. So let's talk about why that is, learning languages in general, and what we can do to help our refugees have the best possible language learning experience. And this is a picture of our school graduation in the summer. Our school has probably doubled in size since this picture was taken. So I would say in any one particular term, we have around 100 students come through our doors. Starting in February, we're going to be offering 5 levels of English. We also have conversation classes, and I also provide support for those of you who end up working with refugees one-on-one in more of a relational thing. I can provide support for you as well in that. So that's kind of the scope of our school and what it looks like. Just so you know, our school meets here in this part of the building where you are. We meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 10:30 to 1:30 usually. So that's the time of that. I'm afraid we don't have time for this activity just because I know you guys are on a short schedule. This is really fun. If you want to look it up later, I can show it to you. It's a song. It's people in Italian that are singing nonsense English syllables, but it sounds like English. So you're listening and you're trying to pick it out, but it's all nonsense. It's called Prisen Colin Anson and Chusal, which was just, it sounds like English, but it's a bunch of gibberish. So check out that song, and then imagine that's what English sounds like to all of these people. That's kind of what we're going through. English is hard to learn, okay? We are all, is anybody here not a native English speaker? Okay. Did you have difficulty learning English?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was not a 1, 2, 3.
Right. Right. One example of the difficulty, for example, we know there are 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y, okay. But how many vowel sounds are there in English? Right, everybody's going, oh no. All right, so one example is that A in hat and A in hate are 2 different sounds. So what I'd like you to do is with your neighbor, talk for 30 seconds, see how many different vowel sounds you can come up with. Go. All right. Here they are. Okay? A, I, E, I, O, U, a different oi, ow, and And then and is a vowel sound, believe it or not. We spell it different ways, but it's in the middle of a syllable. So brother, that sound is a vowel, okay? And if you are a unique speaker of English and you pronounce C-A-U-G-H-T and C-O-T as 2 different words, then you can throw in another one. But I didn't put that one up there. So our language is complicated. Most of these languages that our students speak maybe have 6 to 8 vowel sounds. So even just pronouncing our language is going to be tough. And let's not even talk about how many different ways we can spell all of these varied vowel sounds, right? So English is hard, is the first point. Additionally, their languages have some things our language doesn't have, and we have some things they don't have. For example, Arabic doesn't have P. So one of our volunteers was asking a lady from Iraq, what do you like to do for fun? And she said, go to the park. But her accent made it sound like go to the bar. And he was like, oh, go to the bar, like drinking? And she was like, no. But that pa, which doesn't exist in Arabic, became a ba. That was the closest thing they have. Or it can be a kind of sound. Farsi, that vowel R we were talking about. A friend of mine from Iran wanted me to help her with her accent. And one of the most obvious things is that sound. It's very, very difficult. And I was trying to encourage her to say her, not hair, right? And so I said, say grr, like you're a lion, like grr. And she went, grr. And I was like, no, it's very hard. It's really difficult. And then we've got grammar on top of all of this, right? So we have, Farsi has the verb at the end of the sentence. So students speaking English that are beginners will move their English verb to the end of their sentence, I to the store yesterday went, for example. Arabic doesn't use to be in the present tense. You can just say apple red, and that's a grammatical sentence in Arabic. And then, and in Spanish as well, we've got adjectives after the noun, right? Apple red, not red apple. It's a very common mistake. And it's something that is just kind of as you're figuring out this new language, you're moving things around. They don't always move. So those are just some of the difficulties our students face. I want to talk to you guys about some of the myths about teaching English as a second language. When I tell people I'm an English teacher, they say, oh, how many languages do you speak? I say, one, English, I've studied French, I've studied Farsi and Arabic, but I am not conversant in them. And that's actually a good thing, and so we're going to talk about that. Myth number one, you need to speak another language to teach ESL. If you think that you can't teach English because you don't speak Arabic or Farsi, you're wrong, okay? So, and that, in fact, when you only speak English, it means that the students can only use English to speak to you. That's good. That's what we want. We want for them to have to negotiate for meaning and try to figure out how to tell you, I'm not going to be at school tomorrow, or my son is sick, or whatever it is they need to convey to you. We want that. And when there's a mistake in communication, either on the speaker's point or for you as the listener, what? I don't understand. Those mistakes mean that they can figure out where did the miscommunication happen and how can I fix it, right? And that's a learning piece that's really important for them. Does that make sense to everybody? So, ways to communicate with them when that miscommunication happens. I use Google image search before I use Google Translate to show them a picture of what I'm saying in English. I draw, act it out, try a different word, try rephrasing, slow down, repeat. There's a million different ways that you can get this communication across. And if you still fail, that's what Google Translate's for, right? We have every language in our pocket. So with the true emergency, you can Google Translate, but you don't need to. And I have made what Samira was talking about, nonverbal education. I've had little old Arabic ladies come up to me and kiss me and hug me, and they're talking to me in Arabic, and I have no idea what they're saying, but they are communicating love and affection, and that's all you need. Another myth, which we see a lot with volunteers, is that the way you learned English, let's use the same things for the adults, but that's not a good plan. Children's materials are usually childish or boring, or in the case of Dr. Seuss, weird, right? We don't want to use Dr. Seuss for English. So if you think it's boring, they're going to think it's boring. So we want to use real materials. If you're teaching about grocery shopping, bring in actual coupons from the newspaper. If you're teaching about, just in our conversation class yesterday, they were talking about meeting people and greeting. Find video clips from TV shows of people meeting each other and have them see authentic, true communication happen. And that makes it relevant to them. It's real vocabulary, it's real English, it's what they're going to hear. It's not out of a book and it's not childish. We never want to talk to an adult who doesn't speak English as if they're a child, right? So Is that clear? All right. Next myth. If I cover what's in the book, they'll learn it and they'll use it correctly every time after that, which is not true. It takes multiple exposures to the same words and to grammar concepts before students will naturally incorporate it into their speech. In my class, I teach the basic level English, the first level, and we teach I go, you go, he goes with an S, and all the way up, even to our highest levels, they might know that that's the rule, but it doesn't actually affect their communication in any way. If a student tells me, he go to the store, I understand them perfectly. And so that's actually going to be one of the last things that they fix, because it's not stopping them from getting their point across. And learning language is about communicating. So if they're communicating with you, you can teach it a million times, but the things that aren't preventing them from communicating are going to be the last things that they really pick up. So instead of focusing on grammar correctness, we want to focus on goals, so that they are focusing on it and learning it and working on that. But don't correct the S on he goes unless that's the subject of the lesson. Does that make sense? All right. Another myth, mistakes are bad. Also not true. Okay. There are stages in language learning that everybody's going through at their school. And a lot of these mistakes that they make are them resolving the conflict between their native language and their new language. Some things that are the same for me, that are the same in French and English, are easy. The things that are different between French and English for me are difficult. So we'll see students go through like a learning little staircase, okay? So, for example, check me if I'm wrong, Samira, a grammatical sentence in Farsi would be peanuts no like, right? Because the I don't like peanuts, the I is part of the verb, so you wouldn't need to say it. And the object comes before the verb. So this in Farsi is grammatical, but in English it's silly, right? So as they go, oh, okay, the object comes after the verb. And then they say, oh, I see, I have to say I in English, even though I don't in Farsi. And then we've got this don't thing, which is this stupid thing in English that really is not necessary, but it's grammatical, right? So these little stages, they're going to go through them, and that's normal, and it's good, as they resolve these differences in their first language, with their first language. Another thing that we see a lot is what looks like regression, but it's actually them absorbing and bringing in new rules and growing in the language. So students might, when they first learn past tense, say correctly, I ate pizza yesterday, because they hear ate. Then the teacher reviews ed, and they start overcorrecting and put ed where it doesn't belong, right? Because they're practicing that ed, so we get eded. And then we get back to ate, and this one will stick, right? Because they've incorporated this complex past tense rule in English, and they understand irregular verbs and irregular verbs and how to use them and when. Another myth is that you need to know everything about English grammar to teach English. It's helpful. It's a half myth. It doesn't hurt if you know what the names of the different tenses are and things like that, but it's not required. And it's okay when a student asks you, why in English blah and blah, which seem to contradict, because our language is a mix mash of Latin and German and Spanish and, you know, all kinds of stuff. It's okay to say, bless you, it's okay to say, I don't know. That is an acceptable answer at any time when you're a teacher. So I don't know, as long as you find out. And maybe you don't know how to find out, so you call me, or you look in a book, or look online, or whatever. But believe it or not, even the weirdest things in English usually have an explanation. And a student who is at that level to be able to ask, why is it this way and not this way, would probably really benefit from knowing that explanation and understanding the history of our language and a little bit how it works. So if you need resources on this, I have some books and suggestions for you. But I don't know is always okay. Yeah? So, the main point is that our students come from varied educational backgrounds. Lisa, we're asking how long it takes. Well, if, for example, you have an Iraqi woman who went through high school, who went through college, who maybe learned our alphabet and learned some English in school, but just doesn't know how to speak it, like many of us who studied languages in school and can't speak them, she's going to have a very different learning curve than, say, a married woman from Afghanistan, rural Afghanistan, who can't read her language, much less ours. That's a big jump, and those require really different strategies and methods. But in our school, we have seen great success in both groups of people moving up through the levels and achieving a lot of proficiency. Starting since I teach the very beginning level, I get to watch the students go from really me saying, "Hi, what's your name?" And they go, "Hee hee hee hee," because they have no idea what I just said. And going from that to our level 2 class and being able to talk about the past, the present, the future, their goals, their desires, their dreams, job readiness, college prep, or just talking to their neighbors, their kids' teachers. Our goal is communication, because without this communication, our students will not be able to participate in our society. And we want that for them, and they want it too. They really do. And that's why this piece is so important. That is all, and I was asked to leave time. Sorry. Does everybody have any questions? Oh, yes.
I mean, this is all about the spoken English. How much is written English? You know,
Very good
how
question.
much is that?
So I actually brought 2 examples of our curriculum that we use at the school. I'm currently teaching, we have 2 ABC classes, I've never seen the ABCs before class, and I know them, but reading is hard kind of class. So we are working on getting them moving up in literacy as well. Our primary term curriculum does involve reading and writing skills. It's really important. Grammar, speaking. I mean, speaking is the most important, because that's going to give them the confidence they need and the ability to keep moving, but we don't want to ignore the written either.
Are there internet resources that folks can, make use of? You can direct them towards, if they're disciplines, they can
Yes.
take advantage of that.
Yeah, there's online picture dictionaries, there are English videos at various levels. I have a Facebook page that many of the students follow that I post materials and websites and things for them to use. So if they have smartphones, they can use that as well. Duolingo is an app. There are many apps as well. There are a lot of resources out there. Good question. Any other questions? I'm due in March. That's it.
Just a few more things. We are out of time. Once you get connected to refugees or a refugee, please, please, please do not Facebook friend them. If you would like to be in touch via Facebook, create a page. Alison has a page.
Yeah, mine's professional. It's a page, not my personal.
Yeah. And you can do that. You can say, friend, whatever. You can give it just a name and just have a page for communicating with refugees. That is for our protection, for our safety, for Gateway of Grace, for our staff, because we communicate things that are Christians, and we don't know who's friend with who and how far those things, go. So please friend them separately from your personal page that you might be friend with me or other, Gateway of Grace staff. The other thing, if you are a lady and you are working with refugees, modesty is a big deal, right? We don't want to go visit the refugees, wearing something that's low cut or short. That would not be modest even as a Christian, We want to communicate the best that we have, in our culture, in our faith. That's really, really important. It can, wearing things that are not as modest can become a stumbling block partner relationships, especially with the husbands. Then they wouldn't want their wives, to become like, that or dress like that. So, just as Paul says, you want to become all things to all people so that they may, you may win some for God. So, modesty is a big issue. Do you all have any questions? Yes.
As we try to prepare for this, do you have any basic reading? Do you have a book or two, something simple, social behaviors, cultural training, just something we could read on our own to better prepare?
Yes, there are a few things on our website. One is understanding and addressing refugee and immigrant anxiety. It talks about anxiety and how to recognize it, what to do about it, and also how to give them goals and things that are achievable. Those are for practical issues. There is a list of do's and don'ts that you can also look at, and this presentation is also online. If you need additional resources, in addition to all of that, please email me and I'll provide you with additional resources. Anything else? I'm sorry.
Is all this information available on the general website, or is there a particular?
It's on the resource.
It's on the resource.
Yeah. So please email Carol, and that's Carol, Carol, @gatewayofgrace.org, and she can send you the key, and you'd have access to all of those resources.
I'm going to send that to everyone here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Many of you have, when you filled out the application forms, have mentioned that you're interested in a lot of different things. We want to know if you are interested in teaching or in helping with English class, which is always a great opportunity and a lot of fun, and Alison is yay.
You deserve me.
Please email Alison,
Yeah.
ALISON
I can write it up there too.
@gatewayofgrace.org. She's also on the website, on the contact list. Please let her know and copy Carol on that so we know who's getting connected to what. Okay? Email Alison for ESL help, copy Carol. If you are interested in helping with childcare at school, please let Carol know. Just the specific areas. There is a list of different areas that you can, choose exactly which one or two are your, primary interests, and we can connect you with those. And if those don't work out, that's fine. We can move you to another area. So I think that's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question that if you're going to teach ESL, is your commitment one day a week from 10:30 to 1:30, or how do you?
That's totally up to you. My goal is to have in every classroom 2 teachers that are there every day, and then we have some volunteers that come 1 day a week. But we want consistency for the students, and because it is a volunteer role, to have one volunteer who's making all the lesson plans or preparing everything. It's better if you have 2 because you can share. So opportunities at various commitment levels and time.
So just contact you about that.
Yeah, and we can talk about what works best for you in terms of which level you prefer and your time commitment.
Right. And if you are interested in adopting a family and being a part of a team, let Carol know, so we can have you in a specific categories. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
What about donating furniture or household goods? Do you all have storage places for that?
We used to. What we do now is we receive donations and we take them directly to the refugee families. We don't store them anymore for different reasons. And you would email Juan, JUAN @gatewayofgrace.org. Regarding that, all we ask that they will be clean and they will be, good furniture, not clothing items. Those are hard to organize and maintain. Anything else? Okay. Well, I'm really, really grateful. I know it's a work day. I know you're all tired, and so really appreciate you being here. I'm looking forward to getting all of you, to getting to know all of you much better, hopefully. And let me pray before we go. Let us pray.